Welcome to another show, another week of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Thanks for tuning in. Got another good show lined up for you this week. It's going to start off with Joel Tice here in just a moment. Joel is the owner and president of Tice Automotive Family. And after Joel, we'll have Jeff Horner, former Iowa Hawkeye basketball sharpshooting great and current coach at Truman State University. It's been a month or so since we've talked to Jeff. He had a nice postseason run with his Truman State Bulldogs in Division II to the Elite Eight. And then we'll also wrap up the Iowa Hawkeye season in Jeff's opinion. And then, of course, we'll close out the show with David Eickholt, our Hawkeye insider. That being said, I've located my buddy Joel Tice. Joel, first and foremost, as always, thanks for joining us every 2 weeks and being a part of the show every week. Greatly appreciated. How's everything going with you, my friend?
Everything's going well.
Good.
Game last night that we got a little revenge against Gonzaga. So,
amen to that. Yeah, the Hawks lost one earlier this year to Gonzaga, and I'll tell you what. Last night I was surprised, Joel, at how the Gonzaga Bulldogs, not how they came back. I was more surprised with how Baylor kept adding to the score. I thought, okay, Gonzaga's going to make a run, get back in it, especially when it was 47-37 at halftime. Lo and behold, Baylor comes out at halftime ready to rock and roll, and the game was, I shouldn't say never in doubt, because there were moments when Gonzaga would go on a brief little 6-0 or 8-2 run, and you'd think, okay, maybe they're getting back into it. But, you know, you follow sports well, and that's why you're a part of this program, and I want the viewers and listeners to get a chance to know you. So as you and I have talked about in the past, instead of saying, hey, let's talk about this specific vehicle and that specific vehicle, I want to talk about spring sports and what's happening with you folks there at Tice Automotive Family. With inventory is really going quickly. So as you mentioned a couple weeks ago, it's go time. So we're not going to get that much into the specific cars. But I will say you've got a daughter in high school track. You've got a son in youth baseball. That's getting ready to roll. I got my Masters green jacket on this week for Zach Johnson, Cedar Rapids' very own. He's a big Hawkeye booster, even though he's a former Drake Bulldog golfer. But, I didn't wear it a couple weeks ago. Everybody said to me, gee, you're O'Hara for St. Patrick's Day. Where's the green jacket? So I broke it out for the Masters. But I got to say to you, Joel, you're being a big sports fan and a supporter of athletics all over the map here. I got to ask you, besides it being an exciting time in the car industry, what an exciting time in the sports world in general.
oh yeah, it's just fun seeing everything that's going on, and after a year of everyone being cooped up here and not being able to do what we normally do, it's just, and then we've got some great weather right now that makes it feel like it's summer out there. So yeah, it's a lot to look forward to here with this spring. So
amen to that. And you talk about your kids getting ready for their spring and summer sports and what a busy time it is, and same with the viewing and buying public and the listening public. And that's an intriguing thing. I think a lot of people think, well, if I go online and look at this and look at this vehicle and then I go in and do it. Car shopping and car buying is not traditionally what it used to be. And I know you touched on that a couple weeks ago, but I'd like you to go into that just for a moment or two, if you would, for us this week, because I think the public is very educated, as you've said before, but I think there are a few more tweaks, especially post-COVID, that I'd really like you to get into with Tice Automotive Family, how much you and your staff adhere to the individual buyer and not here it's a one mass buying group, here we go. It's very individualized. Go into that for a little bit with us, if you would, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different process. I've been doing this for 30 plus years and watched it all evolve. And basically, the vehicles will sell themselves based on the videos and the pictures and the descriptions that we put online. So, the days of somebody coming in and saying, hey, we want to look at 3 or 4 vehicles, it's kind of a thing of the past because they've zeroed in on the one that they want. And it's just a matter of it coming and touching and feeling it and driving it and making sure it's the one, because buying a vehicle is the second largest purchase a person's going to make, and it's got to be the right vehicle. Especially the prices are not going down. I mean, when you can spend $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 for vehicles, it's more than some people paid for their houses in a lot of cases. So it's a way different atmosphere than what it used to be.
Yeah, it really is. And I got to tell you, it's great that we have such an attentive listening audience here, and they've made us number one in late night here on KFXA Fox 28. And as I mentioned last week, we're going statewide with this show starting in May, and so it'll be in all corners of the state and all areas in between, in Des Moines, Sioux City, Council Bluffs, Davenport, the whole state. So we're looking forward to that. But the comments I get, and again, thank you to the viewers and listeners for that. But the thing I want to mention to you that I really like hearing, and what you and I have talked about when we started this endeavor, and the same when Joe Mershman and I started this endeavor, is that the listening and viewing public get a chance to know you and how you do business. And like you and viewers and listeners, I want you to know, Joel told me this off the air, and I'm going to bring it on the air. And you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but I want to reiterate this because it bears repeating. When you said, hey, I don't want to be on every week or every other week and say, I've got XYZ car. If you don't buy it Monday, no go. It's the special of the week and that type of thing. And I've had more and more viewers each week, Joel, say how good it is to get to know you, to get to know Joe Mershman, as well as knowing me and the guests on this show. But I want to commend you for the way you do business at Tice Automotive Family. And it's not just a one-time deal, or you started it the other day and rolled out of bed and said, hey, as you're smiling, hey, today I think we're going to do it this way. That's why it's Tice Automotive Family. And I just want to commend you on that. And my listeners and viewers have made many positive comments about the way you do business.
No, it's who we are, and I appreciate that you pick up on, we've only known each other for a short period here, but you understand who I am and how we do business, and it's just how we'll always be, because it's just not something that we're going to be changing. It is our culture. So.
I love that, and you're right. I picked up on it quick. It's the same with Joe Mershman and I for the past. When he and I got together a couple of years ago, and same thing. It was like it's not going to beat people over the head and say it's farming, it's ag. You got to buy this seed, you got to do that. We're here. Here's who we are. Give us a chance, and we'll win your business. And that's what I think is fantastic. But Joel, my friend, have a great rest of the spring. We'll catch up with you in 2 weeks. Of course, your ads run here every week, but can't say thank you enough for being a part of this show, but also becoming new friends together. I look forward to further friendship and say thank you again very much, and enjoy those activities with your son and daughter out there in the spring and the summer, and can't wait to get the buying public out there to come by and meet you guys at Tice Automotive Family. Joel?
All right. Appreciate it, Dave.
My pleasure as always. Hey, we'll be back with more Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara, in just a moment. Thanks again to Joel Tice. We'll have Jeff Horner, former Iowa Hawkeye basketball playing great, and then we'll close out the show with David Eickholt, Hawkeye Insider. Back with more in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we're participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. As you can see on the screen, my buddy Jeff Horner joining us. Been a while since we've caught up with Jeff. Well, he's been a little busy going to the Elite Eight and the Division II Men's Basketball Championships in Evansville, Indiana. And Jeff is just rocking and rolling. Coach of the Year honors in the GLVC Conference in the region. Had a Player of the Year in Cade McKnight in a conference in the region, an All-American. He's got a former player in the NBA, and Broderick Thomas playing for the Cavaliers and starting occasionally, getting a meaningful 30-plus minutes a night. Jeff, there's a lot going on in your world, but the one thing where you and I left off a couple weeks ago, first of all, thanks for joining us as always, and glad to see everything's going well for you. But last time we talked, you were number one, as you're smiling, on the all-time Iowa Hawkeyes assist list. And again, Jeff is in the top 10 of most meaningful offensive categories in Iowa Hawkeye basketball history. But you and I joked a little bit. We knew it was a foregone conclusion that J-Bo was going to pass your all-time assist record. He ends up with 639. You have 612. So you're firmly ensconced in the number 2 position. But talk about that for a little bit, if you would. And I want to get into the possibility of, if the name, image, and likeness passes, J-Bo could come back, or said he would. Then the record will really be smashed. Luka Garza is going to be on CNBC this afternoon as we record this on Tuesday afternoon. It airs on Friday nights as always, and of course online, DaveO'HaraSports.com by Sunday noon Central. Every Sunday it's updated. But Jeff, Luke is going to make an announcement. He should be the Wooden Player of the Year announced later today. He's won the other Players of the Year. But tell me what your emotions are. I know you always say that records are meant to be broken, and you were kind of joking about it with J-Bo on and off the air and on social media. But what are your thoughts now? You're in the number 2 position as the all-time assist leader at Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just really happy for him. He's a born and raised Hawkeye, obviously, with, his dad playing football back in the day too as well. And I've known his family, for a long time, and recruited him up at North Dakota a little bit when I thought he was going to be slipping through the cracks. And so, it's kind of one of those things where, obviously, like I said, I knew him. He's a great kid. I'm extremely happy for him. And, obviously he's done a lot on social media with the NIL thing, and I'll be interested to see how that plays out. I do think that athletes should get something. I think the interesting part will be is, how do you regulate it? You're moving down a slippery slope where, I think a lot of people know that, there's not a lot of, there's a lot of behind the scenes work in college athletics, I guess you could say, as far as money exchanging hands, those types of things, that we know of. And now I feel like, teams might be able to do it out in the open. So, how do you regulate it to where, Alabama football can't have a guy sign one autograph for $1 million and, that type of thing. So I think that's going to kind of be interesting to see, but I know he's put forth a big effort with that. And, I'll be interested to see where that goes, but I'm just really happy for him that he has that record. And, his assist record, I think means a ton, because that means you're giving buckets to your teammates, that type of thing. So that's awesome.
It really is. And, of course, a lot of milestones have been passed this year in Hawkeye basketball with Luka Garza becoming the all-time leading scorer, passing Roy Marble. And also he's second on the list of rebounds, career rebounds, just behind your buddy Greg Bruner, who's still the all-time rebounding leader. But a lot happened in this year's season. And before I get to wrapping up the Hawkeye season and talking about where some guys might go next year, who may come back, that type of thing, I want to highlight your season. As I mentioned in your opening here on the segment, your coach of the year. Congratulations again for that in the conference and the region. You had a player of the year, an MVP, and Cade McKnight. He's coming back next year. You're losing one starter from that group, a senior Turner Scott, who's moving on to professional and graduate endeavors. He could come back because this year doesn't count for anybody. But what a season it was. Tough loss, I know, in the Elite Eight. But to get to the Elite Eight, historic for Truman State University, formerly Northeast Missouri State, when I was going there back in the day. But I got to tell you, Jeff, what a year it was for you and your team after getting the rug yanked out from you last year on your way to nationals, the national tournament last year. You had to turn around in St. Louis and go back home to Kirksville. So you waited 2 years for this opportunity. You just closed out year 3. What a year it has been, Jeff.
Yeah, last year, like you said, we thought we had a really good team too as well. We got the 2 seed in the NCAA tournament in our region, and we felt like we had a really good team, and we had a good enough team to win it all. That year, obviously, and then coming back, we lose a guy like Broderick Thomas, who made us first start with the Cleveland Cavaliers just 2 weeks ago. So kind of crazy to think that, we lost an NBA player, and then we came back this year. And I think there was a lot of question marks going into the year. We weren't even picked to finish, win our division. And they went three divisions this year. So they changed it up a little bit. Would have been interesting to see where we would have stood had they, done preseason polls with just our conference where we were at. But, a lot of expectations started to come as we started to win. And our point guard, Turner Scott, who's, a senior, like you said, and kind of the cog in the wheel for us, leader, winner, just did an awesome job this year for us, first team all conference. And then Cade McKnight wins GLVC player of the year for us and just had an awesome year. And a guy like Dylan Peters is second team all league. Mason Miller wins freshman of the year and is on the all defensive team. So a lot of guys picked up a lot of slack. And then, you look at a guy like Elijah Hayskamp, who also could have been all conference at some point. And we had 5 guys in double figures this year. So it's kind of tough to, give awards, that type of thing. But I just felt like our team just did a great job. And, this year we went to regionals, won that on a last second shot. And then unfortunately just had some bad luck, lost 1-point game. We missed some free throws down the stretch, and a 38% free throw shooter for them made 2. And we had a chance at the end to win it, but, just couldn't pull it out.
The cool thing, Jeff, is I got to mention this to all of our Iowa fans. Obviously, this is Hawkeyed and a Hawkeye show. You being a former Hawkeye great, you are keeping that train rolling in. I'm calling it Iowa South now, Kirksville, Missouri. It's just inside the Missouri border, about 30 miles. And I got to tell you, Jeff, you had kids, 6 of your top 8 or 7 of your top 8 from this year's team and last year's team were Iowa kids. You mentioned Hayes Camp, you mentioned Mason Miller, an Iowa City kid. Now you're bringing in 4 other new guys this upcoming year with, is it Caleb Schlock from Cedar Rapids?
Caleb, yep.
And then you've got Trey Shearer from Montezuma, and then you got a Knutson kid from Cedar Falls and a kid from the Davenport area, right?
Yep, from North Scott, Landon Island from North Scott. So we're excited about all 4 of them. You know, Trey Shearer was first team All-State. You know, Caleb was second team All-State at Cedar Rapids Kennedy. And then Joe Knutson was a backup for, 3 years. He had the quarterback kid who's going to UNI, who's playing behind him, and then, got an opportunity to really come in and play this year. And then Landon Island at North Scott, who, first team All-Conference player, really athletic, best basketballs ahead of him. But the thing I like most about all 4 of those guys is they're all winners. Trey Shearer wins the state championship this year. Caleb battles Johnston to overtime, who made to the state championship game. And he's been the player of the year in the metro area for the last 2 years. Joe Knutson's won a state championship, and I believe they finished, I think they got beat in the semis this year. And then, a guy like Landon Island has also been to the state tournament. So, that's really an under recruited a part of winning. Winning to me is a very important part of recruiting. And, I think that if you can get winners, I think you're going to be successful.
And I'm saying his name correct from Cedar Rapids Kennedy, Caleb Schlock, correct?
Yep.
Perfect.
So I've known his dad, played old prime time together. So we played back in the day together for sure.
Very cool. Yeah, he was a Hall of Famer when I went to State University, Kyle Schlock. So yeah, Caleb comes by it naturally, that's for sure. So let's transition on to the Iowa Hawkeyes. Get your season wrap on this. I know you mentioned to me on radio yesterday that when we do a radio show every Monday before the TV show you and I do together, and you talked about Mackenzie Meyer being Joe Wieskamp's fiance, we all know that. And you said that Mackenzie's parents still live in Mason City, just a couple doors down from your sister in Mason City. What are your thoughts? What do you know? Does Joe Wieskamp come back to the Hawkeyes next year? Is he on his way? Jeff, you got a chance to break some news here. I see you laughing. Come on now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know, a whole lot about that. Joe's a pretty quiet kid. He keeps to himself, that type of thing. So, but I think whichever way he decides, it's going to be, what's best for him, that type of thing too. So, I do believe that Mackenzie is in dental school or something down there in Iowa City. So that could be a good sign for Hawkeye fans for sure.
Yeah, she's a former Iowa Hawkeye basketball, playing great as well for Bluter's bunch. So, yeah, that's if and when they get married and if and when they have kids, those kids will come by it naturally too, as we talk about with Caleb Schlock too. So let's do this. Let's talk about last night's championship game. Again, we record this on Tuesday afternoon. It airs on Friday and, of course, online on Sundays and afterwards on DaveO'HaraSports.com. But, Jeff, let's talk about Gonzaga, the way they were. Let's just be honest. They were controlled last night by Baylor winning the championship. Of course, all the Hawkeye fans want to regale themselves and go back to December when the Hawks lost 100-88 to Gonzaga, and what might have been type of thing. And the Baylor-Gonzaga regular season game before that Iowa game got postponed because of COVID. And now we got the game we wanted in December with Baylor and Gonzaga. But, Jeff, I think Gonzaga played their championship game on Saturday night when it won in the overtime half-court buzzer over UCLA. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the way that played out last night in the championship game with Baylor controlling Gonzaga.
Yeah, I kind of just think Baylor came out, punched them in the mouth with their energy. I thought their energy was far and above Gonzaga's at that point. And when that happens and, they're making shots, they're pretty tough because the defensive side of the ball for Baylor was absolutely phenomenal. It was a joy to watch, that's for sure. But then on the other end, they're making shots. Gonzaga even went zone and they got to the high post a few times and hit some 15-foot jumpers. And then at that point, it's kind of like, well, what do you do? We just tried going zone. We didn't play a whole lot this year. And I just thought, like I said, I thought Baylor's energy just came out and they just really took it to them right away. And I think it does a little bit have to do with a little bit Saturday night where Gonzaga plays an emotional game where they go into overtime. Baylor doesn't have to go into overtime, that type of thing. And so it can wear and tear on you. We're in we're in April. So, we started, he's basically starting August, September, and you're going till now. So, at some point, guys wear down, that type of thing. But, that's why, everyone talks about having deeper teams is such a big advantage for sure.
Yeah, well stated. And Jeff, I got to ask you as we close up here in the last couple of minutes, again, I mentioned with Jordan Bohannon, you and I talked about the name, image, and likeness when that court ruling, or if it goes to a vote. 8 states have already passed it for college athletes, and J-Bo could come back for another year conceivably. Luka Garza could, but probably won't. But Fran's cupboard is not bare, and I want to forewarn you, Jeff, that I may have you back or will have you back this spring or summer, because as you and I talked about on radio yesterday, the transfer portal is going to be big, and we'll see if Fran hits that. We know Jack Nungy's already leaving the Hawkeyes and transferring, understandably so, to be near his family after his dad suddenly and tragically passed away this season, and Jack's injuries, so he's going to transfer to a college or university nearer to his family in Indiana. But I would like to have you back later this summer to talk about transfer portal and what may be upcoming for the Hawkeyes either later this spring or summer. But they do have a lot coming back with Keegan Murray and Patrick McCaffrey, Connor McCaffrey, if and when possibly Joe Wieskamp. The cupboard's not bare even before we get into the transfer portal or new guys coming in, Jeff.
Yeah, I just think, the transfer portal is an interesting situation. Obviously, every situation is different for each kid, whether that be, like Jack Nungy's situation where his father passes away, he's had a million injuries, that type of thing. And, obviously he just wants to get back and be closer to his family, those types of things. And then, you got a kid that maybe didn't play as much as he wanted to and wants the opportunity to play even more. Or, sometimes you have coaches who tell kids, we're not, this isn't going to be a place for you, that type of thing. So there's just so many different situations that happen with the transfer portal where, I've kind of just come to terms that, you just want kids to be happy. And I think that's the most important thing in all of this. And, if you're going to sit there and you're going to fret about it and you're going to be upset about it, those types of things, then in the end, it's going to eat you alive because you're going to wonder, well, why did this kid transfer? Why is this kid transferring? Why can't we get this kid from the portal? But, when it's all said and done, you want kids to be happy. And, it'll be interesting to see because, a lot of these kids are transferring and the one-time transfer rule has not come out either. And so I will be interested to see how that plays out. I saw a kid in the transfer portal today. I won't name names that is transferring for a second time to a third 4-year school. And, unless he graduates, he can't transfer if that rule doesn't change. So I think sometimes some of these kids are also misinformed when it comes to that type of thing too, as well. And so, I think the NCAA needs to come out and basically, make sure we know what's going on with all these transfers before everyone starts doing it.
Yeah, amen to that. There's so much to get into, and we will this spring and summer with you later on down the road. Jeff, what a season it's been for you, for the Hawkeyes, for Division I basketball, Division II, all divisions. We made it through the March Madness of men's and women's college basketball. Great championship game on Sunday night with Stanford beating Arizona by 1 point, 54-53. No games canceled or postponed for the women, only one for the men, and of course that affected Iowa because Oregon had their game postponed against VCU going into the Iowa game. But Jeff, I made it through. The NCAA, I don't tip my hat off into them, but I will this year. They made it through all of the levels, and NJCAA is starting their national tournament now, or they're playing games. But what a year it's been, my friend. Congratulations to you. Thanks again for joining us all season long and fitting us into your busy schedule. I do look forward to catching up with you at least 1 or 2 more times this spring and summer because, as you mentioned, this transfer portal is going to be something else, my friend.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Dave.
My pleasure as always. For Jeff Horner, this is Dave O'Hara. We'll be back tomorrow with Close Out the Show with Hawkeye Insider David Eickholt in just a moment.
When you're a farmer, there's a lot of things you can't control. But there is a way to give your soybeans an early advantage. Mershman Seeds soybean seed treatment featuring Turpidity ST. An independent analysis has proven faster and more even emergence every time. Just look at the Mershman difference. Give your crop the boost it needs for a uniform stand. For the best yields, grow with us. Mershman Seeds.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. And as you can see on the screen, my buddy David Eickholt, the Hawkeye Insider, joining us as always. Going to close out the show with David this week again. David, you had press availability with Kirk Ferentz and the players today as we record this late afternoon or early evening on Tuesday. It airs on Friday again, and of course online, DaveO'HaraSports.com, Sunday afterwards. So, David, First of all, thanks for joining us as always. And secondly, you've got big news, but let's get to the football, spring football first, and then we'll get to Luka Garza updates and news. Obviously, can't wait to get to that. So how's it going, my friend?
Hey, things are going well, Dave. I'll say this, too. It's a very interesting spring, Dave. You think about this. 75% of Iowa's current players have not gone through a spring practice because, remember, last year's was canceled due to COVID-19. Think of Dane Belton, who's played 16 career games at Iowa. He's never had a spring practice. What about Tyler Goodson? He's never had a spring practice. And when you think of these prominent players, they've never had it. So this is a very good developmental time for him. And Spencer Petras, obviously, this is a big developmental stage for him. And to get some of the younger guys acquainted. And again, I've said this to you before, Dave, keep an eye on wide receivers Arlen Bruce IV, and keep an eye on Keegan Johnson, as multiple defensive backs raved about their ability today. While they might not start, I expect them to see some snaps sometime this fall.
All right, David, fantastic stuff, but it is official. Luka Garza has been named the Wooden Player of the Year. That's a clean sweep for him. All 6 awards, major awards, Player of the Year, Consensus All-American. You have spent time, again, go to HawkeyeInsider.com, at David Eickholt, social media. You see all his handiwork on the screen there when I introduced him, at Hawkeyes on 24/7 via social. David, you've got the exclusives on Luka. I'm going to get out of your way and let you go, please.
Yeah, it's been quite a saga, I think, for Luka Garza. Obviously, I've done a big feature series, The Chronicles of Luka Garza, that started last summer when he was going through his decision whether or not to go to the NBA or come back. But I think it's just a full circle thing, Dave. I mean, you think about the journey he's been on. I mean, he was the face of college basketball this season. And not just that, he played better than he did last year. You think about, he broke his single season scoring record, 747 points. He shot better from the field. His defense was better. And he really just made waves around the college basketball world. And, despite being the star of the scouting report, double and triple teamed every game, he was as consistently dominant as anybody there has been. I think the Big Ten, only Big Ten player in history to have 2,300 points or more points and 900 plus rebounds. So HawkeyeInsider.com for the entire about 25,000 words on Luka Garza's journey through Iowa. And it was concluded with an exclusive letter that Luka Garza wrote to Hawkeye Nation. So again, HawkeyeInsider.com, and you can read about a 1,400 word letter from Luka. Very, very powerful, if I do say so myself.
I can't wait to get to the rest of it. I've read most of it, but I've got more to get to. I'll say this to you in about the last minute we have here with you for this week in this show, minute and a half. Luka was on CNBC on the Power Lunch, a business show this afternoon on Tuesday, as we record this again late afternoon, early evening on Tuesday. David, as the viewers are seeing this and listening to it over the weekend and on Friday night, but David, he's got an alternative possibly to the NIL, name, image, and likeness with NFT. It's a Bitcoin type of thing or an online currency. Give me about 30 seconds, if you would, on that. And again, you're writing about that as well, please.
Yeah, I think he's genius. I mean, keep in mind, Luka Garza is an economics major at University of Iowa, so he understands numbers. He's a smart kid. This is a market that very few athletes in general have broken into. Patrick Mahomes and Rob Gronkowski are two of the more prominent figures, but Luka is the first college player to do this. And again, go to HawkeyeInsider.com. There's a big auction going, and I think anyone who gets their hands on that, it's going to be special. And also the proceeds are going to the Children's Hospital as well, so that needs to be noted.
Even better. David, great stuff from you as always. I look forward to catching up with you next week, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it as always.
My pleasure as always. For David Eickholt, Jeff Horner, and Joel Tice, and thanks to you, the viewers and listeners, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeyed with me. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks again for making us number one in late night on KFXA Fox 28 and supporting my advertisers and sponsors as they support this show. Please stay tuned for the rolling credits here at the end of the show. Also, again, we're going statewide starting in May. So for Hawkeyed with me, Dave O'Hara, that's all from me. Thanks to all of you.